Hello. All right. I hope a few folks maybe will join us today. If not, that's okay. I'm doing this as an experiment more for me anyway. Hello, welcome. So, what I am doing is trying out some APIs as part of some hackathons and things that I'm working on this month. And I thought a great way to do that would be to share the experience live and have an opportunity for folks to join me. If you have insights or questions about what I'm working on, would be interested in hearing those. So let me give a little bit more background. First off, my name is Jason, and I work in the developer relations, and I have a really keen interest in developer experience topics. What makes an API good, easy to use, and how to get started better. So, with these shows, I am going to be looking at other products, things that maybe solve problems I'm interested in or something that I've heard about. And I think it's really important to call out that the goal here is to be kind. Not everything will work right away, quite frankly, building good developer experience is hard work. And so a lot of people put time and energy into building some of the products and the dashboards and the documentation and all the tools that I'm going to be encountering. But as I encounter it, I'm probably going to encounter questions and confusion, maybe bugs here and there, which could be for any number of reasons, sometimes even my own fault. So, really, the spirit of this is to be growth oriented and explain what I'm seeing as I'm seeing it in terms of trying to make things better and to call out when things work really, really well as well. So, some of this is inspired by an API Days talk from over 10 years ago. This notion of 333, and is sort of borrowed from a long time marketing or messaging communications kind of strategy that you only have like 3 seconds to really get someone's attention. Well, this is applying that to software, in particular API and SaaS type products. So, presumably 3 seconds to understand what the API or tool is for, 30 seconds to find an entry point, and then 3 minutes to create an account, execute a call, and use the result. So some people might refer to this as time to hello world. I'm a little bit more forgiving. I'm giving a little bit more closer to a half hour to have a successful outcome or not. And then continuing to investigate after that. I'm only sharing the first half hour here and continuing to dive a little bit deeper and figuring out what I can from the tools I'm experimenting with. So, the other spirit of what we're doing here, it can sometimes be referred to as friction logging. So it's a process of keeping a log as you go through testing a new feature, testing a new product, testing a new library. What causes frustration, which could be things that are complex or feel unnecessary, anything that's just not very clear, not well understood, or if it's difficult to figure out what the next step is going to be. All right. All of these things are friction in an onboarding process. And the more friction you encounter, the more likely you are to go a different direction and see if that path is easier. So, when doing something like this, it's very valuable to include new members. Not everyone has access to new members. So, in some ways, that's what I am doing right now. I'm testing out some things I've never used before. Um, but the idea is to learn from what the friction is so that whenever we are working on new experiences or to fix the ones that are out there, how can we make them better? And this is something that most product teams probably should do, or some very well likely do, is regularly auditing that health. And I do it with a slightly different twist in that I record the sessions. So that is why fundamentally I am streaming it out as well, is to get a recording so I can go back, look at it, take notes, and observe what the experience was like. And by recording it, it's a little bit easier to participate. For example, I can just speak out loud, narrate what I'm doing, as opposed to trying to type out exactly what I saw or taking screenshots, or copying error messages. I get all of that by recording the session as a whole. Sometimes this is also referred to as customer zero, the idea that you want someone before your first customer to take a look at something, and making sure that a new feature or new product is something that can be adopted. So, it's like testing in production, but hopefully not with an end user where the stakes are very, very high. And the intention here is not quality control, right? It's not to test whether or not something works as expected under the same conditions. This is really about removing, that curse of knowledge, trying out unexpected use cases, mirroring real world scenarios, and creating learning resources. So, my goal is to keep doing these shows on random days, to be honest, a little erratic based on when my schedule allows. But roughly, I'm shooting for 3:30 p.m. Pacific time in the U.S., which seems appropriate for that 3:33 type of evaluation. Broadcasting this both on Twitch and YouTube, so depending on your preference. And I have a really bad website up there, developerxp.com, where I'm including at least the upcoming schedule. So today I'm looking at some of the Square APIs. And then next time, also looking at Ghostwriter. I've been trying some of the code generation type tools, seeing if any of them work for me or provide value. And then I'll also be looking at Google Vertex API in terms of some generative AI tools, and seeing how that one works, and what type of results I get for some of the use cases I've been looking at. So with that out of the way, that's the plan. So today, and why I'm looking at Square APIs, is inspired by this hackathon. So I'm going to give a little bit of a bigger view here for you. So what this hackathon is trying out is, as you can see, this is where the inspiration comes from, trying out the Square APIs as well as Google Vertex. Those are included as part of this hackathon. The deadline is October 17th, so coming up really fast. And I think that is the spirit. Primarily, I'm working on the hackathons on weekends or evenings, just to see what I can learn out of the experience. So, in terms of a quick onboarding, if that time to hello world is days or weeks or months, that creates a little bit of a problem for somebody participating in a hackathon or trying to create something new. And there's some projects I've been interested in building, either applications for myself or so on. So that is also why I've maybe curated a few specific hackathons where I think things might be valuable. So like the Square APIs, for example, can be very helpful for payment processing, something like that, if I were to have a SaaS product myself and be trying to collect payments. So with that in mind, let's get going. So I'm going to cheat a little bit in saying that, I know Square exists. I have some fundamental knowledge about it, but let's say I'm searching for Square, getting started. Where do I start? What's the first thing I should look for? Squareup.com. So that's get started guides. So it's interesting. I searched this. This doesn't take me to the documentation first. It's actually going to take me to a support page. Create and manage sales tax, accept payments online. Contract Square for retail. Okay. So this is an example where, people come in through all types of different paths. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to change course and go to square.com and see exactly what I find. Okay. So powering all the ways you do business, work smarter, automate for efficiency, and open up new revenue streams on the software and hardware platform. So this is for a hackathon. So the type of app that I'm building, I'll be honest, I'm still in the brainstorming stage for what I would be working on. And I am just trying out the Square APIs, but so the spirit of it is to build an app for sellers that use the Square APIs and Google AI APIs. So in that sense, Square sellers, presumably I'm selling something, and for purposes of demonstration, it can be a widget, nothing specific. Maybe I intend to sell reports or a digital product of some sort, which would make life easier. Um, or it could be an in-person service. But the point is, I probably want to handle payments, secure payments anywhere your customers are. So now, again, using that terminology, get started. I usually do look for a quick start, get started, that kind of thing. So let's see. Let's create your account. Um, that seems like a reasonable place to start. Um, Hold on 1 second. I'm going to open up another browser and take that off screen for a moment. All right, signing up for Square. All right, let's see. All right, I will need to create a password. See what I got. I got a password in mind, so I'll go ahead and use that. Agree to the services. Continue. All right, your account has been created. Tell us about your business. Every business is unique. I want to hear about yours. Um, um, all right. So now we're getting to the part of the onboarding experience where it starts getting a little more onerous. And this is where it then becomes, how convinced am I that this is the solution I am looking for? And with that, I mean, again, this is contrived in that I am doing this as part of a hackathon. But there are cases where I do have a business in mind where I do want to sell things and collect payments, even if it's a garage sale. But am I convinced Square is the solution, or do I consider alternatives? I'm probably still at that evaluation stage. If I had a boss on this project saying, go use Square, certainly that influences how I would proceed, and it would be a non question, and I would go through. But as this is something I'm probably starting on my own, um, I'm not sure how much I really want to get into this, because this is probably taking me through a sales process. So let's go back for a moment before finishing that sign up to figure out, hey, how convinced am I that I'm actually going in the right way, right? Because I do want to try things out first, see how easy it is, see if I can integrate it into my web application before I get too far along. So in person, online, over the phone, or out in the field, no setup fees, only pay when you take a payment, right? Like that seems fair to me, right? In terms of processing, it's a usage based model. So I'm fine with that. Does that take me to the same place? Yep. Okay. All right. Let's see. Um, so in this case, yeah, really, but it's fine. Um, I don't want to put in a phone number yet. I don't want to give revenue. Um, let's not go ahead with that yet. Okay. All of the required fields. Which requests or which fields are required? Right. That is a question. Am I missing? Okay. I'm going to take that off screen for a moment and just put in a few things. Okay. All right. So we're a little bit further. So, what kind of business do you run? Um, yep, professional services, consulting, software development. That both could work. Events could work. Okay. Let's go ahead and do software development. Continue. Well, I find interesting the placement of continue in the upper right. I don't know, just because I scroll down to the bottom as I'm filling things in, and then I have to scroll back up again to continue. That actually confused me on the first screen. I was looking for something down here, kept trying to scroll down. I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" Um, yeah, it makes sense that I have to do some of this. So I'm going to take that back off screen again. In the meantime, we'll go back to this page and watch the animation. Just give me a few more moments as I'm inputting a few details to get through the identity proof point. I don't think asking for someone's identity is that big of a deal, especially for a payment service. That seems like the right thing to do. Um, okay. Still going through. It says it may take a minute to finish with the verification. Still working on it, still spinning. So you can see just for a moment, this is what's going on. Kind of makes me wonder what's happening in the background. Um, all right. So it says for signing up, you are eligible for one free Square reader for MagStripe. You can order other Square hardware once you've completed sign up. Um, oh, that's kind of helpful. Um, all right. It's asking me for some more information. Again, doing that off screen. All right. All right. So the next thing it's given me, but it still includes some information, so that's why I'm not sharing quite yet. I did get a welcome screen, and it takes me to the dashboard. Um, and then here's what that looks like. So there's a lot going on here, um, but I need to activate my account, activate so on and so forth. I forgot to set my timer, but we're a little ways into this. I had the benefit of having a pretty good idea what Square was for to begin with. Um, I certainly don't know all of the range of products offered here, so that's maybe one factor. But I was able to find the entry point um, and get in. But now, yeah, so now it's a question of okay, well, what APIs are available? And I want to clarify here that yeah, if I'm creating an online free branded website for your services, nope, I already have that. Um, But it seems like if I create one, they take um, transaction fees. Okay, that's fine. But I'm not finding the APIs I'm looking for. Square APIs. Let's see. Payments API. That looks like a trick pay junction. So let's come here. All right, so this is a different. Okay, so here we go. Well, that's kind of nice that it seemed to have the context that I'm already logged in and that I need to create an application. You can look at the terms of service here. You can read through that later or send it to Lara. Okay, so this actually okay, so this is putting me in a little bit of a wizard, which is fine. I do want to be able to accept payments. Um, I can manage and fulfill orders. Is something I would want to do. Um, Customer relationships, sure. Don't need to manage a team. Um, Record of product offerings. I might use Square to do that, um, but I don't need to do inventory management. Okay. I am going to say that this is for personal use for now. Okay. All right. So about customer relationships. So this looks like documentation. Now, one thing, so this is Sandbox. I'm perfect. Okay. Um, I have a sandbox with an application ID and a token. I can swap out the token. So that leads me to believe the application ID. Um, don't be mean and take it, but presumably without the token, you're not going to get very far. Maybe I can delete this application when I'm done. Okay, create your first test payment. Open the API Explorer. That sounds like a thing I might want to do. All right, so okay, so this has taken me to an API Explorer. It looks like it has generated a token for me, done some other magic, but create payments creates a payment using the provided source. I do feel like there's a little bit of context I'm missing. I kind of like what I'm seeing though, that I could go ahead and try this out, but I'm not sure if this, you know, is a place where I start or not. Get payment, update payment, cancel payment, complete payment, create a payment. So this becomes a terminology question. So wait, creating a payment, is that the thing that a customer does? Or is this creating, so I'm creating a payment on behalf of a customer. Okay. So there's a key here. I like the contextual help here. A unique string. So I wonder how they've made this. And it looks like you could actually run it with different versions as well. Required fields have been populated. Oh, wow. Okay. Kind of curious. What can I see? Does this tell me anything about how it was built? Is it all built in-house or is it a third-party tool? Do do do. Firestorm docs. What is Firestorm docs? I know this is a little bit of a distraction. Firestorm. Read the docs. A REST API framework for .NET. No, that doesn't. Okay. That's not, I don't think, what I'm interested in. I'm going to assume that some of this was produced in-house, but as in the Square team that has someone creating this. It's pretty slick, if so. But anyways, because it looks very branded, can run it. I can copy a link to set it up. I probably will, just because I don't know what information I'm leaking here on the stream, so I'll probably end up deleting this app before I'm done here. But so this is using the sandbox, which I assume to be okay. But I kind of, whoops, I guess I'm out of it again. What did I just do? I'm going to go back to the developer dashboard. Okay. Yeah. So the sandbox seller accounts allow you to test transactions in an isolated environment before going live. That's important. So this test account. Okay. What does that tell me if I open the dashboard? Is this the same dashboard, or do I have multiple dashboards going on here? This looks like my Square dashboard. I think it's that there is a developer dashboard that was referred to a few times. But let's go back to the docs for a second and see what I can find out. I like that there was an API Explorer, and I got into it really fast. But I don't know if the API it landed me on was where I really wanted to start quite yet. The other thing, I'm going to go back here a second. Developer dashboard. Does if I wanted to get back where I was, right? Yeah, create your first test payment. Okay, so so that's still how this is organized. Credentials. What is the reader SDK? Okay, point of sale API, Apple Pay. What is locations? Mean. Okay, but yeah, so I really want to go and read a little bit about what APIs I want to use in what order, but also how to actually test that payment goes through. So the more complex a product is, that's again why I think I'm a little bit more forgiving than giving 3 minutes as an amount of time. Something more complex requires a little bit more context to do. So develop on the what guides are available? Get up and running. Get what up and running, just to be clear. So I think in the spirit of what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to build a prototype, making sure this meets my needs. I'll probably have a simple web app page that I want to set up that allows a person to input their payment information and send money, right? Like that is the type of application I would think I'm trying to get started with. Create an account and app. We've done that. So I've created a free developer account. I've registered an application. And then there's some automation there, which was, like I said, it looked really impressive if I had a little bit more context to start with. Information about you, agreement to the terms, business, application, use case, language used, audience, getting started, sign in, make your first call. Okay. Now that you have a Square account and application, you can make your first API call using the API Explorer. That's really where we were, which was great. So I think this is what I want as well, to just sort of accompany where I was just to give me a little bit more context in that Explorer of what I was doing. After you create an account, the spanner populates all the fields required to send a create payment request to the payments API. Well, maybe this is not what I was looking for, because again, this is telling me the what I need to do, run request. But again, this is a terminology. I think there's an expectation of what that payment means, but I didn't see everything I was expecting in that dashboard. Now, if I'm over here, can I get to the developer dashboard from here? Does it's interesting. How so it's developer Square Up versus Square Up. So this dashboard, I don't know. Okay. So let's just okay. I'm just gonna mouse is misbehaving a little bit today for some reason. All right, so I want to go back to that Explorer. So I kind of want to get a little bit more of a side-by-side view for a second here and what I'm trying to accomplish. Don't want that, but I want the API Explorer. So it populated everything for me. Actually, I guess I need a little bit more width here. So I don't want all right, so the payment, what are the parameters? There's this key, a unique string. So is this like if I had an invoice number or a transaction ID? Is that what I would use here? Like, is this for correlating with my record? Maybe. All right. What's the source ID? The ID for the source of funds for this payment. Token generated by the web payments. Afterpay or Cash App Pay. I'm not trying to understand. So if I'm making this request, how take a card payment. Okay. I think that's it's getting into this interesting territory, because I feel like, even in this use case for me, I might not need a full custom experience. So needing to call the full backend API may not be the thing I need to do yet, right? Like, could I embed a little payment acceptance solution? Might be something I would be looking for before I really go into the API Explorer. Because if it's something I want to customize, that might be fine. But in some cases, people that I might be selling to could be actually more, feel more safe knowing that there is a branded third party that's actually processing the payment, that I'm not just, dumping somebody's payment information into a local database or something. Right. Like, I think that's the point here is I expect I don't want to have to handle any of that. I want to offload some of that responsibility to Square for me. Yeah. So see this this make your first API call is totally reasonable, but it's not giving me a lot of context per se. So I think that's the thing I'm missing is, you know, what the expectation from a UI perspective would be for collecting this payment. Um, but then it's telling me I can see API logs, verify the payment. Yeah. Yeah. So I think from a mental model, um, I really want to see kind of here's what a UI looks like. This is the API it's going to call. Here's, a test gift card, credit card, whatever example that you can use for testing in the sandbox environment. And then out the other end, see, like a fake account. Um, here's funds received, that kind of thing. Um, So I get the sense that if I just come over here and hit run request, it's going to work. But I'm not sure that that is an outcome I'm looking for yet, right? Because it didn't prove to me what any of this means. It just means I can click a button and run, which will make an API request and probably would be a successful one. And then, yeah, I could copy the curl command or take this to backend um, service that I can integrate into my code. But um, I'm not sure that that's particularly going to give me the hello world I'm looking for right now. Um, yeah, I think I'm still looking for development essentials overview. Yeah, so this seems like an index. Yeah, I guess I've been fortunate. I've never, or maybe I don't know if I'm not fortunate or fortunate, whichever perspective you want. I've never actually had to add payment processing to any of the projects I've worked on. Maybe that's because I was in computer graphics and other fields where collecting payments was just not a solution I offered or built an end user application. So I really don't have a whole lot of context. So I think, when you think about the persona of a developer who's signing up for an account, you know, yeah, here I am with 20 plus years of experience, but I've never actually had to do any sort of payment processing or integrating any of those types of services. It just hasn't been a problem I've had to solve yet. So in that sense, I'm effectively, a complete newbie in trying to build enough context of how to accept payments and what I need to do, what parts that Square will handle for me to get the output I want. So yeah, so in this case, it's like I'm, probably gonna back out and say, quick start, embed Square payments into JavaScript app. Like that's the sort of thing I think I'm looking for, right? So here it actually gives me take a card payment. Generate a payment token, create a payment with the token, right? The card payment rendered on a web page. Yeah. So see, I think this is the guide I needed to begin with. But I did not find it from the docs home. So that's payments. Uh-oh. I lost my way again. So let's go back. It's the web payments SDK is probably want to pull down is what's looking like exactly what I'm looking for. I like that there's a little video here I could watch. I know the sound doesn't carry across the stream. I didn't enable that when I was sharing, um, but yeah, I think this is the quick start I need to follow. So I'm about 45 minutes in, and I know I rambled on for a while, but that feels like at least 30 minutes I've given this. I wish I had started the timer. Um, but I believe this is where I need to go as my next kind of steps. So this does look like a very long guide. So I'm not going to start it now. Um, or at least I'm not going to stream me going through it because I don't know that that will be pretty exciting. But I think this is where I need to go. And so, anyway, that was my first half hour trying to ramp up. I feel pretty confident I could have made an API call, which would have been hello world, but I don't know that I would have really met an objective I had in doing so. So that seemed to be a little bit contrived. So in that sense, looks like I need to dig in a little bit more, and I think this is the guide that is probably the one that's going to get me what I want. So, with that, I'm going to sign off and get back at it a little bit later on today as I start thinking about that hackathon for next week. So, anyways, hope some of that was helpful. If you have any feedback or interest in what I'm doing, please feel free to reach me online or send me an email. And tune in again as I start looking at the next API, which I think I said in the schedule is Ghostwriter. So maybe I can just generate the code using this web payments SDK. Maybe we'll try that tomorrow. So, all right, thanks. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day.